Help them figure what they want out of life. But you know everything it come with a price. Want to maximize your money and time. Might have to take the uncommon advice.
I care what you think. I want you to like. I want you to comment. Give us a subscription. That does matter. So subscribe if you got it. And let's go into this next section. Stop caring of what other people think. Why is that important?
I feel because it stops a lot of people from doing things. When it processes through their head that, oh, if I do this, this person's going to think this about me, or if I do this, and it's happened to all of us. It's happened to me. It's happened to you. It's happened to our imaginary Google guy. It's happened to all of us. And it stops us. It stops us or makes us rethink on what we're doing, which holds us back from either failing or from being successful.
Well, what's wild of it, and I catch myself doing this, I'll be sitting there thinking about something, and then I'm like, you ever have a conversation in like where you're thinking and you're going, oh, well, this happens and this happens and then this happens and all this like what if scenarios. And then all of a sudden it like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but sometimes you get in this what if scenario and then all of a sudden you're pissed off because you're like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I that person would, what if this possibility, like it's crazy, right? You start thinking like, how's someone going to react? And then, oh, you assume they're, because as humans we will naturally go negative when you start thinking too much, right? And start caring. No, you got to care, but don't get me wrong. And I said that wrong. But when you start thinking and caring about what other people think, a lot of times it's you projecting what you think they're going to think. Does that make sense? You're going, oh, well, that person's going to think this. You have no clue they're going to think.
They haven't told you.
They haven't told you. So people spend all this time worrying about what other people might think instead of just worrying about doing what they want to do. And so it does stop people. It slows people down. It stops people from doing big things in life sometimes too, right? So there's no need for caring. Now, you got to have your trusted circle.
Correct.
Right? You want your trusted circle that can give you advice. And it comes back to, I got a friend of mine years ago who told me this, who I was building a business at that time. We were launching a new brand, and I was really concerned about the advice I got. And I was changing based on the advice I got, I started changing what I was doing, right? And I talk about this in my book, actually, No Gas, No Brakes, where it is, what he told me was, you have to take the advice, listen to the advice you get, don't change what you're doing, adjust the path on how you're getting there. Like, look at that advice and go, how can I improve what I'm doing, not how can I change my business.
That's great advice.
Right? So like a lot of times what happens is you get advice. So you might be going, hey, this is the path I'm going. Someone gives you advice. You're like, oh, that was a dumb idea. And now you go look at the next shiny object because you're afraid of failing over here, right? And so what happens is take the advice you got, good or bad, and run it through your lens for your business, because the person who gives advice doesn't know all the ins and outs and have the attachment that you got to the business that you're building, right? So how can you take that advice and improve what you're doing? Maybe it was some really bad advice. And you know that, all right, to get better, I know to improve my path, I better not do that, right? So I think it's super important. That's some great advice a buddy of mine, Vinny, gave me years ago that has, especially when you get into groups and masterminds, it's great to listen and understand and take feedback and receive it, but you got to be very cautious what you do with it.
I'm guessing that advice stuck well with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was probably in 2012 he told me that, I would say.
Awesome. And one of the biggest negative impacts that
right when Peloton started.
Was he did he tell you to invest in Peloton?
No. No, he didn't.
So one of the negative impacts that I feel, one of the biggest is fear of failure. And it's okay to fail. Failure is part of the journey to success. And if you don't fail and you become successful, then kudos to you. Whatever you did, please call me and I want to know. Because if failure happens, it doesn't matter what it is, right? It can be in business, but it can be in life. It can be at home. It can be in sports. It can be in school. Failure is just part of us as humans. We're going to fail, but the big part of those failures is learning from them. And I feel like that's one of the biggest fears is people don't want people to think of them as a failure. Right? But I promise you, they won't think of you as a failure 5 years after when you've actually made it successful. They won't remember that failure. They'll remember all the success you've had.
Yeah, it's that overnight success, right?
Yeah.
5 years of busting your butt and failing to So that takes me back to the point of like, you know what, failure's a loss.
Mm-hmm.
There's wins and losses. We got to go out. Don't make me get on this tangent again. Wins and losses. There is a loss, but the key is when you do lose, what can you learn from it? There's something to learn from losses, and there's something to learn from wins, right? So there's just hearing the story about Nick Saban. You know how he is when his team wins. Sometimes even they feel they played a perfect game, but he's still laying into them on the things they are missing and not doing right. So there's still lessons to be learned even when you win. And when we get too used to winning all the time, sometimes we get lazy, and we get a little bit cocky, right? And you end up forgetting to do the little things that matter to help you go forward, right? So
Correct. And then the other thing that it could impact is your personal growth.
Mhm.
I feel like I can just throw an example. I don't know anyone that's this happened, but it probably has, where someone starts creating content or starts doing the video, and they stop because they feel like people they care what people are thinking. It's like, oh, this video was dumb. It's like, no, you don't know that. Did they comment on the thing? Is this video is dumb? No, but they go off of two metrics. I'd say probably two metrics. One is, let's say they posted on Instagram. How many likes did they get? If they don't get likes, they're probably like, oh, people don't care about this. Or if they don't get comments, people don't care about this.
and if someone comments you're dumb, I got two ways to handle that. One is you can comment back, no, you're dumb. Right? Or you can comment back,
would you comment that nice though? Well, you're
no,
dumb.
I mean, I just think like little kids, right? You're dumb. No, you're dumb. But, or you can go look at that person's profile, and assuming they're not a bot or some troll, look at the things they're into, look at what they do, and realize that you've just learned a lesson on somebody that is not who you're speaking to. It's going to help you refine your message and kind of the stuff you're saying, the stuff you're talking about, because not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah, that's
People don't like you. That's fine. Who cares? Move on.
exactly.
Their loss.
Exactly. So, yeah, guys. So, on that point, the other thing that we have is, I would say, going into people stop caring what people think about you, is the impact of approval. Approval is huge.
Yeah.
A lot of us think we need approval from other people to get things done. This is how I say it. Don't give a shit about other people's approval. Just do it, right? Just because two people don't approve of what you're doing doesn't mean the other 2 million won't.
Yeah, if you constantly seek approval, you'll end up moving slow.
Yeah.
And success in business, you want to move quick. And I think, and once again, I speak from experience. Like when I was younger, growing my business, I would always I'd come up with this idea, this thing I wanted to work on, and I'd go seek approval before I would do anything. And then by the time I get enough approval over 30 days, then I'd maybe start on it. And then, you know what I mean? Like it was just a waste of time. Mm-hmm. If you truly believe in it, you've done the research, you're ready to go, make it happen. People are going to give you advice along the way. That's fine. Take it for what it's worth at that point,
But isn't it true that, Nate, I don't know if you experienced this, but isn't it true that when you're trying to do something, everybody has some opinion or advice they got to give you?
Hey. Yeah.
How many did you hear when you were trying to start Marketing Rebels? Nate, you should do this, or Nate, do this, or Nate, you shouldn't do this, or Nate, why are you doing that? It's like, and then did that ever happen? And if it did that ever affect you?
So we were relaunching. So for me, if we want to get into that, it actually came. Ben Mearson, he was a client at the time of my agency at Optimized Assets, and he came to my office, flew in from Canada, and hung out my office in San Diego. And we were going through a bunch of different things. I'm like, we got to doing something different. I'm making a change, right? Like I was also still doing some of the consulting and the client work. And Ben's a great dude. Tells it how it is. Ain't afraid to tell you his opinion. And we started talking, and I'm like, I knew we were making a big change at that time, right? This was in 2019. I knew we were on the verge of a big change. I had been Optimized Assets for a long time. I was getting rid of the agency. I was getting ready to move into owning all of our own brands, having that kind of pull. And I know that we started talking, and I was telling some story about being a kid, how I've always just been someone who kind of just beats to his own drum and does what I want to do. And he's like, oh, you're a rebel, and he actually was like, that's it. You're Marketing Rebels, And so, but he was all in on it and gave me the idea to actually, and that's what I like to do. I went and bought the domain, and for more than I probably should have. But at the same time, when I was also talking to some other people about making that shift, I'm like, my company had the name, we had a lot of assets built around it, and it was a big change to make. And, people are like, don't do it. You don't want to do it. And, I kind of, at the end of the day, I actually slow rolled it out for like a good year and a half.
Oh,
So, but you're going to have people on both sides. And frankly, it just wasn't that important to me to make it was just a name change. At the same time, we were still doing all the stuff we were doing.
you're doing the same
The
things.
check, he was cutting the check, and where the checks are getting paid to were changing. That was it.
Oh, that's funny.
So-
But I got a fun fact real quick. So Monday, I asked Nate, so how's your weekend? Good. What'd you do? I bought a domain. Dope Media. And I'm like, so was that the fun part of your weekend? So Nate, like I've said before, Nate has an obsession with domains. So if you're ever looking for one, literally just hit us up. I promise you, he might have it. So we'll get there. And the other last thing about this, guys, is embrace yourself. You are who you are. God gifted you who you are, and it is what it is. Like if you're a social person, if you're a good-looking person, if you think you're a bad-looking person, embrace it. It is who you are. Like you're not changing it, right? You can't go do what people are doing nowadays, of just changing their bodies and themselves. So embrace yourself, because that's the one thing that sets you apart from everybody else, I would say.
Do you,
Exactly.
boo?
Exactly.
Right. So it's just be yourself, man. People are gonna love you. People are gonna hate you, and who cares about the people that don't like you?
That's it.
Your circle doesn't need to be big. Your circle just needs to be right.
What's the saying? Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies close, but your friends closer. How is it?
No, keep your enemies closer is what it's saying. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to be around a bunch of people I don't like.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna hang out with them. If you're my enemy, I can hang with you.
Exactly.
Got nothing for you.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I may mess with you if you're around, but I'm not trying to keep you closer. I'm trying to keep people that in my circle. So let's flip that around, because I find that to be common advice, right? Keep your enemies closer. The uncommon advice is just get your enemies the hell away from you. And keep great people around you, right?
That's
That
like
support you, that help you grow, that make you the best version of yourself, right? Be around those people.
Keep a tight group. Those are the ones that are going to help. Those are going to tell you the truth. Those are going to support you on the good, support you on the bad, and they're going to be there for the failure and the success. So those are the important ones. But other than that, I mean, I think that's a wrap.
That is a wrap.
That's
Another
a wrap, guys.
episode, Uncommon advice.
Real quick, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to watch the videos, right? We do this.
Share.
Share them with your buddies. You don't know. Maybe your buddy is going through something and he needs to know how to get a Peloton or how they made it.
Sharing is caring.
Exactly. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. And
Listen to this,
sign
might
out.
have to take the uncommon advice.